This channel already has videos covering potassium plus ammonia, ammonium, and nitrite as the most dangerous compounds in a tank. So, this is the natural next step. Nitrates, the final stage of the nitrogen cycle. I'll walk through what nitrates actually are, when they're beneficial and when they're a problem, and even how to make a cheap homemade nitrate fertilizer. One thing worth saying up front for anyone newer to the hobby: trying to skip past actually understanding the nitrogen cycle and the basic chemistry happening in your tank never ends well. I learned that the hard way myself, so this isn't theoretical for me. And in a typical biologically balanced tank, the vast majority of plant growth issues and general tank problems trace back to nitrate levels specifically. Worth memorizing. Alongside carbon, nitrate is the primary food source for plants, and it's relatively harmless to fish and other tank inhabitants at normal levels. But once nitrate climbs past a safe threshold, it inevitably starts poisoning your fish and other livestock. The generally recommended upper limit for nitrate sits around 40 to 50 milligrams per liter. At 80 milligrams per liter, you get slow but essentially guaranteed damage to mucous membranes, skin and gills, shortened lifespan, and a higher chance of disease. At 100 milligrams per liter or above, death becomes essentially unavoidable in short order. That said, the genuinely optimal range is closer to 20 to 40 milligrams per liter, and for some especially sensitive species, it should stay under 15 milligrams per liter. So, where does nitrate actually come from? It's the final stage of the nitrogen cycle under aerobic, meaning oxygen present conditions. Worth stressing that specifically, since under anaerobic, oxygen free conditions, the process actually runs in reverse, though that's a more advanced topic for another time. The main source of nitrate in any tank is the biological activity of the fish, shrimp, snails, and other livestock themselves. Fish release ammonia and ammonium through their gills as part of normal metabolic function, and bacteria in the tank produce more of it too. Any organic matter in the tank, leftover food, fish waste, decaying plant matter, contains protein, and protein always contains nitrogen, which breaks down first into ammonia and ammonium, then into nitrite. So, bacterial breakdown of organic material inevitably produces ammonia and ammonium as a byproduct. During the nitrogen cycle, that ammonia and ammonium gets converted by bacteria into nitrite, itself just as toxic as ammonia, and the first oxidation stage in the chain. In the second stage, bacteria convert that nitrite into nitrate. So the primary source of nitrate is livestock waste. But tap water and other source water can also contribute nitrogen compounds. Worth considering, established drinking water sanitary standards allow up to 45 milligrams per liter of nitrate in tap water, and that's just the regulated limit, not necessarily what you'll actually measure depending on season and source. Leftover uneaten food is, of course, another contributor to every nitrogen compound in the tank, nitrate included. Now, let's talk about the good and bad sides of nitrate. On one hand, it's the single most essential macronutrient for plant growth and the element plants consume in the largest quantity. On the other hand, once it accumulates past safe levels, it starts causing real harm to every living thing in the tank, potentially leading to illness and death. Worth repeating and memorizing: the recommended range is 10 to 40 milligrams per liter. The maximum safe ceiling is 50 to 60 milligrams per liter. Values of 80 milligrams per liter or more inevitably damage mucous membranes and gills, leading to illness and gradual death. And 100 milligrams per liter or higher is lethal. Fish, like any living organism, can adapt to less than ideal conditions over time. If nitrate rises gradually, some species can adjust and survive reasonably long stretches, even at 60 to 80 milligrams per liter, occasionally even higher. But the real question is always how long that fish will actually live, and it's never a guarantee for every individual. A newly introduced fish, by contrast, dropped straight into those same conditions without any adaptation period, will likely die immediately. In tanks that get regular water changes, nitrate levels naturally fluctuate quite a bit between changes. In tanks run without water changes, gradual nitrate accumulation tends to lower water pH over time. In tanks with both elevated nitrate and CO2 injection, the water becomes noticeably more acidic still, which in turn lowers general hardness meaningfully. One more important detail about the nitrogen cycle overall. At pH below 6.5, the nitrogen cycle slows down substantially, which means the most dangerous nitrogen compounds start accumulating instead of being processed through. Unlike ammonia, ammonium, and nitrite, nitrate rarely spikes suddenly. It tends to build up gradually. And because nitrate gets consumed by plant growth and bacterial activity, tanks with a lot of plants, especially fast growing ones, may see nitrate not just accumulate slowly, but actually get fully consumed down to zero. That's exactly why keepers running heavily planted, lean stocked, or CO2 injected tanks often have to dose nitrate containing macro fertilizers directly. Without that, nitrate can bottom out, plant growth stalls, and algae moves in to fill the gap. So, ways to lower nitrate when it's running high: encourage active plant growth, encourage active bacterial growth, including through biological additives, alcohol, or sugar dosing, which is covered in more detail elsewhere on this channel. Remove nitrate through regular water changes. Use zeolite media. Use specialized chemical nitrate removal products. Use specialized ion exchange resins. Plant fast growing, long stem species that consume nitrate heavily. Use dedicated algae scrubbers, meaning actual algae based filtration systems rather than plants, or use sumps and refugiums growing immersed plants above the waterline. If instead nitrate is running too low, here's what to do: increase feeding, particularly live food, without overdoing it, and while keeping an eye on phosphate, which also tends to build up, especially with dry food. Cut back on the frequency or volume of water changes, as long as that doesn't risk other elements like phosphate or organic waste accumulating instead, or dose a complete macro fertilizer blend, or one containing nitrate specifically. On the subject of fertilizers, it's worth mentioning homemade blends, mixes made from standard garden and agricultural fertilizers, which save a lot of money compared to commercial aquarium products. If nitrate alone is what's missing, potassium nitrate works well, giving you both nitrate and the potassium plants also need. If you need nitrate, phosphate, and potassium together, a standard NPK blend works, though it's worth knowing that in the most widely available versions of that blend, the nitrate to phosphate ratio comes out close to equal, which really doesn't suit an aquarium's needs. The actual concentration of each element also varies a lot between products sold under the same general name, so read labels carefully before buying. Other homemade fertilizer combinations exist too, but they carry more risk and complexity for anyone without test kits or experience, so I wouldn't recommend those to beginners. Funny enough, even running my own tanks without water changes, I still occasionally need to dose nitrate specifically. The moment I bump up lighting or start CO2 injection, my heavily planted, fast growing tanks start running short on nitrate, even without any water changes at all. Now, let's go through how I actually prepare my homemade potassium nitrate solution. For convenient dosing, take potassium nitrate at a ratio of 8 grams per 100 milliliters and dissolve it in hot water. I typically use 80 grams of potassium nitrate dissolved in 1 liter of water, brought nearly to a boil. I stir the solution thoroughly and let it sit for roughly 12 to 24 hours, then filter out any settled sediment before use. The finished solution ends up with a nitrate concentration of 50 grams per liter and a potassium concentration of 30 grams per liter. So, dosing 1 milliliter of this solution per 10 liters of aquarium water raises nitrate by 5 milligrams per liter in the tank. And don't forget, potassium rises by 3 milligrams per liter at the same time. To answer the obvious follow up question, when's the best time to dose nitrate? If you're dosing nitrate on its own, timing doesn't really matter much either way. As a general rule, macro fertilizers get dosed at night and micros in the morning, though that's a separate topic worth covering elsewhere. I've said this before and I'll say it again: the vast majority of tank problems trace back to nitrogen compounds, ammonia and nitrite issues during the early uncycled stage, and nitrate imbalance in long established tanks. Either a nitrate deficiency or an excess is usually the root cause behind stalled plant growth, algae outbreaks, fish disease, and sometimes death. You can absolutely eyeball your water changes and top offs without ever testing nitrate specifically, But I genuinely recommend, without exception, that every aquarist keep a nitrate test on hand, especially in a planted tank. Buy the test, and you'll actually sleep easier knowing exactly how much nitrate you have, whether it's accumulating at all, how much and how often you need to change water, and whether dosing macro fertilizer is even necessary. All of that for the cost of a single modest test kit that'll typically last you 6 months to a year. Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to everyone supporting the channel. Good luck out there.